So I just want to focus on showing you that you can attach, you know, the closure, but if your client wants a closure, but she does want her own hair out in the front. I had already did some braidless tracks on her. Little demonstration is going to be for anyone who has a customer who wants her own hair out, but you also want to use the Weave Buddy for perimeter protection. The Weave Buddy will attach to it, okay? And since the tracks are already created, what I want to do is just only focus on the perimeter tracks. And for this braidless, I will just bring down the edges of the braidless, okay? I'm going to be sewing just around the edges, and this is the very bottom track. But this is the braidless. So then once you have created the braidless tracks, then you want to bring out the edges, just the edges. To a lot of the people that wear their hair out, but they use the tracks, they tend to go bald in that area where their tracks were pulling, but they still have their own hair out because that hair was never in braids. Right now, the Weave Buddy is going to be attached to the braids that are basically behind the ear. Okay? It is a used one that it's used from another class that I did. So this is what they look like when you remove them from, you know, they've already been used. This is more or less what they look like. So I'm going to go from behind and pull it over. Okay. So at the front, I want to make sure that it goes, that my new hairline is being created, okay? Can you see how their own hair is just kind of coming out of there? That's fine. It's not their own hair is not in the way of this attachment, because this attachment is going to be sewn on to the braidless tracks. It's going to be sewn on to that. Okay, so then you don't have to sew, you know, you don't have to worry about sewing the Weave Buddy back further. You can bring it all the way forward, so you don't have to pull the Weave Buddy back. You can bring it all the way to the front. Even when they want their own hair out, you can still bring it to the front. Now, this one, because it was already shaped, all of the slits have been closed already. So, you know, make sure that when you are attaching your Weave Buddy, you close the slits, etc., etc., attaching it to those tracks. This one doesn't have any hair up here, but if she did, you'd start your attachment from the top here. My first attachment is going to be here because that's where the her hair is. And as I attach, you see the slits here? Make sure that you close that slit. And before I continue going downward, I'm going to stop right here. And I want to make sure that the other side gets attached before, you know, it starts shifting on you. Because if you, you know, attach it completely all the way downward before you attach the other side, you're going to get some shifting. So I'm going to attach it right here to this first track. And this is a braidless track, guys. But you can, you know, have your regular cornrows. I just wanted to do this demonstration to show that you can use your braidless tracks to attach this Weave Buddy to. And really, the attachment can be only on the edges where the customer usually is behind the ear, those strong braids. You can also use a grip band And then that grip band would be, you would be attaching the weave buddy to the grip band, and that's why I tell a lot of my customers when they're balding there to use a grip band. I didn't use a grip band right now because I want to just focus on showing you. I don't want to get you too lost here, so I just want to focus on showing you that you can attach, you know, the closure buddy. If your client wants a closure, but she does want her own hair out in the front, letting her have access to her own hair while being able to fill in the weave buddy with more hair and attach the closure buddy, the closure. So as I'm going down, I'm grabbing the, you can't, when they have their own hair out, it's harder to see the tracks, but you can see them, like I can see them right here. And you just want to be attaching this to the tracks, to those braidless tracks. And as I go down, I'm closing the slits. Now, if it fits her like a glove and it's not loose, you don't have to close the slits. But most time, closing the slits gives it that perfect fit. But some people are like in that stage where it just barely fits them, you know, without closing the slits, which are these right here. So don't force the slits to be closed, okay, if it already barely fits her just right. Most of the times, if you are getting their size, the right size, you do close the slits to give it that, you know, really comfortable, snug fit. But sometimes you're at the borderline, so it may be that her head is just big enough. This one looks kind of loose already, so I'm going to re-close that large slit. Closing that slit back to the front here. And see, as I'm coming around here, I see that I can use these tracks here. So I'm going to bring this hair in here. You can use these tracks. It's a little tiny different when you're using the braidless tracks. Your new weave buddy, this elastic is actually longer. I just cut it off, and I always just leave this, you know, because I know when I'm reusing it, all I need is this, and this is just to come over and get sewn, you know what I mean? So I don't need another long one again. The long ones are cool because it just, if you're very beginning, it helps you like to keep it in place as you're sewing the weave buddy in. Also, like, you know, you could tie it around the occipital area, and it keeps it nice and firm while you're sewing it on. But you don't need it to be long. You can keep it short like that, and then when you're ready, when you've sewn the weave buddy down, you can sew this down in place here, okay? But for right now, I just want to make sure that my weave buddy is going to be attached. And see, I'm not just using one or two little, oh, boom, 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 you know. I'm sewing it on good because I don't want it to wobble around. So if you are interested in my class, reach out to me and I will give you more information. But see, it's already flattening up this, because when you have regular tracks, you know, they're already inside the braids. So I want to make sure that that hair is not going to be popping out or sticking out. You can still see the tracks. So I guess to answer that question is, how do I keep it flat? You keep it flat by two things: by closing your slits, and also by making new slits. When it's time, you make your new slits. If you need to customize, feel just more natural because they're wearing their own hair. You know, people love to wear their own hair out. If you can, you know, definitely learn the braidless method. For my more advanced units, you definitely have to take my class. I don't give out those instructional videos, and I'll tell you why. Because you really need my coaching to do the more advanced stuff. Okay, so I want to grab this elastic. See how I first attached the thread? Okay, so I'm not trying to attach the thread and the elastic at the same time. So whenever you're going to attach something, make sure that you go in with your thread first and then start sewing what you want to sew down, if that makes sense. Okay. Stop. There we go. Again, I'm going to attach the needle first and bring it over here and closer to where I want to use it. Now pull this down. The good advantage to when they're long is that they are tied up. You tie it in a bow there, so you don't have to try to be holding it at the same time. So that is one good advantage. But I just really wanted to show you guys how to reattach a already used wee buddy. Because some people, they're like, are you sure it's reusable? It is reusable. You can reuse it. Now I'm going to travel back up here with my needle and come over here because I noticed that there's a little bit of humpity here. So I'm just going to sew that down. Before I do that, I do want to make sure that I put in my protective paddle. And I just want to make this to where it's not folding. Definitely, if you are going to be working with women who have hair loss, to severe hair loss, to totalis, definitely consider taking my full Wee Buddy Hero class. So here we go. Now we are ready for the closure. Protective paddles are in. But you see how she has her own hairs out, and it's okay. She can have her own hair out of this first square. So I don't have to sit there fussing with it anymore now and trying to hold it in place and blah, 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 because I already know that once it's stretched, this guy is going to be good at the bottom of this first square. So I'll just go ahead and start sewing it down. And I like to leave it's about a 1/3 inch out, okay, when I sew in my closures. So then you can go back in and bring it down, flatten it onto the weave buddy. So first we're getting that needle in real good. And now I'm going to go ahead and start sewing it down. Remember, when I measured this, when I pulled on both sides of that, I noticed that it fit really good right here at the bottom of the first square. So that's where I'm going to start my sewing. I want to make sure that it is out by about a 1/3 inch. And I'll go I'm going to leave this needle right there so that when I'm ready to sew this down, I have a needle and thread to sew that down. Don't forget you have the paddle. You can see there's no poking on your customer and there's no pulling on their own delicate little braids or little hair that they have out. Put your needle in first. Can you see? And the needle's in. Now I want to tug on that closure, nice firm tug, okay? And make sure that on this side you also have about a 1/3 inch out, okay? I am pulling it through a little hole there, all right? And now I'm also going to leave this needle here for when I'm ready to tuck it underneath my weave buddy. Do that part, but right now what I'm going to do is just leave it right here. Can you see what I'm doing? Bring this hair in. Again, if they have their own hair out, okay, it doesn't affect what you're doing here, the sewing that you're doing here, because you're sewing on the weave buddy and their own hair can be out, okay, their own hair can be out. So now little by little I want to tuck in the corner of this closure. One more corner. All right. And this little Close the other side. I'm going to take a little bit of this closure and bring it in. And see, I'm going to just grab onto this so it doesn't tweak, okay? Little last corner. Get in there. There we go. See how every time I pulled that needle, I held on to the lace closure? And I'm going to go up in. Sorry guys, my dog is weird. So when you have to only go in about 1/4 inch, okay? Not more, right? And in my class I call it, you're just gonna start tugging. So let's get that needle in first. Are you getting bored, Coco? I'm getting bored. All right, so just want to go in about 1/4 inch. And sew it onto this layer of the weave buddy, this top layer. Let me do a little weaving. Okay, and then I'm gonna bring this needle back to the back before I'm not gonna take that, I'm not gonna close it up and knot it right there because, you know, people tend to brush up in the front more, and those little knots can unravel really quickly in the very front. So I just like to take the needle to the back and then do that, okay? Grab about 1/4 inch. Mainly is this front that I want to make sure it's tight. Get that needle in there and thread. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. more, Coco? Well, I'm almost done. Yes, dear. And one last thing before we finish this off is I want to go across and just make sure that the closure is connected to the lace that I provide on the weed buddy. So we're going to bring forward about a 1/4 inch. Okay. And we're going to go in. I have my protective petals in. Okay. So see, right now I'm going to do the underneath knotting method. And what I'm doing is I'm scraping onto the paddles because I know that if I feel the paddles, then that means I have grabbed that, that lace that I provide on the closure buddy. Then I want to make that knot as tight as possible. So see how I open that up? All right, then I'm going to go back in. All right, and slide on those protective paddles. That way you know you got the lace. And make a little knot again. And then again, open that up. So that knot is nice and tight. Go back underneath. You're scraping onto the paddles, and then when you scrape on there, you can feel that you've gotten all the way down underneath that lace that is there at the closure buddy, the front. We have not. Okay. Slide on to that paddle so you know. Now this paddle is kind of to focus it again. So this will ensure that the closure is not going to pull back any other weird way. Make sure that the hair doesn't get tangled in the knots. You don't want it to tweak. I made it tweak. There we go. And we are going to be done. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how I create a closure on For this case, it was a the braidless tracks. But you can also use your just regular braided tracks and have their own hair can be out as well. Okay, and just go ahead and add that hair. And don't forget to use your protective paddles because they help for many things, okay?